The Baby Moonpigs. Chapter 1. Sourface Jones. Sourface Jones was a farmer. He drove his big blue Volvo estate into the dirty old farmyard. It slid to a halt in the mud. Mr. Jones applied the handbrake and turned the engine off. It was hardly surprising he always looked so miserable. The farm had been left to him by his father, old Mr. Jones, and from that time on things had begun to go wrong. The first summer had been very wet. The corn, the wheat and the barley had been flattened by high winds. Crows, magpies and pigeons gathered in the field for a feast. The grain was scattered on the ground and the birds ate their fill. Sourface Jones made a very frightening scarecrow and placed it in the field. Unfortunately for him, he had put it on a public footpath. There were many complaints from the people who walked in the bridleways at the weekends. The local council said it was frightening the hikers more than the birds, and he had to remove it. The second year was far worse than the first. Foot and mouth disease had broken out in the country. Jones's farm had not been directly affected, but a local ban had been placed on the movement of pigs and other livestock. Their cattle could not be taken to market, so they could not be sold. As they could not be sold, there was no income. No income meant no bills could be paid, and Sourface Jones began to fall into debt. The second year had started off better. The restriction on the movement of cattle had been lifted. Mr. Jones still had to sell most of them to pay off last year's debts. The only animals left on the farm were Dracula, the bad-tempered guard dog, 3 dairy cows, a few sheep, 1 horse, and the last remaining pig. The crops had been good. The harvest was safely gathered and stored in the old barn. There was enough to feed the animals through the coming winter and a surplus to sell for small profit. Mr. Jones began to think he could make it.